Hello, good evening, viewers. Welcome to another exciting edition of the 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐻 Digest, your go-to place for thoughtful conversations that inspire better HR management practices and employee experiences. My name is 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬, your host for today. And we're going to dive into a topic that's at the heart of every thriving organization, and that is creating an engaged workplace. So that's going to be our focus for today. We all know that employee engagement is more than just job satisfaction or the perks of the job. It's more about cultivating a work environment where people feel valued, heard, and energized to contribute their best. But the big question is, how do we build and sustain that kind of culture, especially in our current world where things are constantly evolving? So to help us unpack this today, we have with us a seasoned voice in the field by name Mr. Peter Yao-Bosuchi. He's an experienced HR professional and banker with over 2 decades worth of rich experience. He's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Human Resources Management in Ghana and an associate and chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers. Over the years, he has developed remarkable capability in talent management, specializing in people risk management and HR project management, HR operations, and performance management. He has strong understanding of HR trends and best practices, enabling his ability as a strategic thinker to apply effective strategies to build businesses that have translated into remarkable results. As a change maker, Mr. Bosuchi has implemented a number of change initiatives at individual and institutional levels using his excellent leadership abilities. He is passionate about knowledge transfer and coaching. So, as you just heard, we have a very seasoned resource to help us dissect the subject of creating an engaged workplace. But before I jump in, let's remember that this event is brought to you by 𝐀𝐝𝐴𝐷𝑎𝑡 Consults. And at 𝐀𝐝𝐴𝐷𝑎𝑡, we offer a myriad of services, HR support services, advisory and outsourcing services, compensation and benefits management, employee engagement, as we are about to discuss, payroll outsourcing, recruitment and executive search, event management, ushering services. The list goes on and on and on. And I'll be sharing a number with you, which you can contact if you need to make further inquiries. So without much ado, let's dive straight into our conversation. I have with me Mr. Yao-Bosuchi. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Hi, Ophelia.
How are you doing today? How's your weekend been?
The weekend has been good. It's been very, very good. Today especially has been a bit emotional, but also good. Today marks my mom's birthday, but actually she's celebrating the birthday in heaven. Actually, this week marks 25 years since she left. So
Wow.
we did spend some time in church in her remembrance.
Okay.
It's been good.
Okay.
It's been a good day. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy. I'm happy you're able to smile about that.
Yeah, she will want me to.
Yeah. I believe so too. I
Yeah.
believe so. So thank you so much for taking our time to be with us.
Yeah.
So as I've introduced, I know I'm expecting that this would be a great conversation because it's quite an interesting topic to discuss. And employee engagement is something that the schools of thought are many,
Hmm.
and the definitions are so diverse. And so I want us to kickstart this conversation by you giving us what your definition of employee engagement is.
All right. Thank you very much, Ophelia. You know, with when anything comes up in the HR world, I know a lot of people believe that HR is just the other job everybody can do. but you see, it's a skill one, and I keep telling my class, I mean, and anybody who want to listen, that HR practice is a calling. It's a calling, and if you are not called and you force yourself in there, you create a lot of mess. So we have people who believe that HR is just recruiting people and exiting them as and when you allow. But the core for me as a successful HR practitioner is how the employee gets engaged in your work at the office, at the workplace. Okay, so if you have people who are not engaged, then you probably need to look at your practice as an HR professional. Okay, so like you said, look, there are various definitions of what employee engagement or workplace engagement is. But I normally will pick three key indicators which the employee need to exhibit to show that he's engaged. Number one is having his emotion attached to the work, the organization, and his colleagues. Number two, having his thought or his cognitive space attached to his work, to his colleagues, and to his organization. And thirdly, his behaviors, attaching his behavior to his work, to his colleagues, and to his organization. So how does the employee exhibit these three things: his emotions, his thoughts, and his behaviors in the workspace? Okay, so normally you see when you are employed, you are supposed to come and do your work and go. But are you attaching your emotion to it? Are you attaching your thoughts to it? Are you attaching your whole being to it? When that happens, then we now are talking about you being engaged in the workplace. All right. So almost everybody works, but not everybody have his emotions attached to the work. Not everybody thinks about his work, his organization, his colleagues. Not everybody puts everything he has, his physical being, into his work. And there are various reasons why that happens. Okay, probably as we discuss, we will be able to unveil some of these things, and it will help us, especially as HR practitioners, to put in place the proper framework to ensure that we have staff or employees who are well engaged. So, like I said, for me, it's about your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors. How are they impacting your work?
Okay. Your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors.
Yeah.
So that would make me then go to my next question about how really it shows up in the workplace. But I'd like to ask that in combination with another question. So, what are the key drivers of employee engagement that, in your observation over the years of your experience, have been impactful?
Okay. All right. So, like I said, normally when the you need to have the employee engage emotionally. Okay. So, what do you need to do to ensure that they get engaged emotionally? So, those are some of the key drivers or core drivers that we probably will want to look at. One of them is probably a meaningful work and purpose. So it means that people must have their jobs well, written out for them. You need to have a very good job descriptions. People must know what they are delivering. Those jobs must be clearly stated. It must be meaningful. It must have purpose. You see, when somebody have a reason why he goes to work, he works with all his heart. He puts in everything. But if it's not clear as to what he's supposed to do, He will come, he will work for the pay, but will he be satisfied? No. Will he go the extra mile? Probably no. Okay, so number one is there must be meaningful work and it must be purposeful. Okay, another thing that we must look at as a core driver to employee engagement is recognition and reward. We must have very good recognition reward framework at our workplaces. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us talk about the fact that, when you work with pay, you pay. Yeah. So the person will also come and just work for the pay. But if you want the person to go the extra mile, you must have a process in place where you recognize those extra deliverables. You must have a reward system in place where people's extra jobs are recognized and rewarded. It must clearly be there. So you must have, as I said earlier, meaningful work and purpose. You must have a recognition and reward framework. There must also be opportunity for growth and development. Okay, you must have opportunity for growth and development. When I come to work and I work for 2-3 years, what is the next step? It must clearly be there. I must know that if I work so much and develop myself so much, this is the next step. Or if I work so much, the organization will open up opportunities for me to develop my capabilities. So there must be opportunities for growth and development. Okay. We always talk about diversity, inclusion, and support, etc., etc. There must be a supportive and inclusive culture in the organization. Everybody must be treated equally. We must have a culture where people are not looked down on. That's how come they will come to work happy. I've worked in an institution before where I had complaints of line managers. I mean, I've worked all my life in the bank, and there were branch managers, I understand, in one of our remote branches where, as part of his sanctions, his punishment, he made staff kneel down. Now, this staff who kneels and is afraid of the line manager will not want to come to work. He's always afraid to come. And certainly this type of staff will not be fully engaged. Okay, so you must create that kind of environment for the staff to come to work happy. All right. Then another core driver for me, and very, very important, is effective communication and feedback. There must be that framework. We must create that kind of environment where communication, especially from the top to down, is clear. Very, very clear. And there must be enough space for feedback from down to up and up to down. You know, when we create that kind of environment and deliver on some of these key drivers, we will have successful employee engagement. Maybe let me add one more, that probably we need to create that autonomy and ownership. We create an environment where people are given the autonomy to work. They must be encouraged to own their workspace, make the right mistakes, give feedback, and embolden them to take the right kind of risk and deliver. You know, when somebody is given that kind of space, he works with his heart and always does the extra. You know, so for me, these are just a few of core drivers that we need to probably look at if we want to develop a very good employee engagement framework.
Okay. Great. I love your submissions, and I want to pick out some follow-up questions even from here. So there's this scenario of an employer who has, I'm trying to frame the words. So basically, an employer who is fond of changing strategies often, changing directions often, does not communicate as adequately as they are supposed or they're expected to, and keeps changing the direction. And so you can wake up one day, go to work, and what you've planned for the day has to be thrown out the window and go to something else. And so over time, the employee morale seems to dwindle. However, this employer does not understand why employees complain just on the basis that their salaries are being paid. Nobody's salary has been held back, nobody's salary has been cut. And so, for as long as salaries are being paid, irrespective of everything else that's going on, they haven't breached their contract. So, the employee needs to show up. What do you have to say about that?
Well, like I said earlier, look, salaries for me is not the only motivation for employees to work. Now, if you pay me for the work you want me to do. Mm-hmm. And I can just do that work and then we move on. But any employer who pays employees and think that, look, because I pay you, just do the work as I'm paying you for, will not have the best of the employee. Every employer is supposed to aim at the employee going the extra mile. See, going the extra mile and delivering more than he's being paid for. So if you are not giving me the tools to work with, and one of the main tools, like I mentioned, is communication. You have a strategy. It's in your head. Mm-hmm. You recruited me because there's a skill I have you don't have. And that's one thing employers must know, that there's always something you, the employer, don't have. And the only way to get it is to buy it. And that is what you are buying from me. So allow me to deliver what you want. But how I deliver it, you must allow me to deliver it so. And the only way you can get the best out of me is to paint the end picture. Let me know the end picture. What do you want to achieve? Why did you bring me in? You want a painting of the Ghana flag, red, gold, green with a black star. That is what you want. As to whether I start painting the black star first, the yellow first, the green first, or just wait till the end. But make sure that you tell me that you want the Ghana flag properly outlined. Don't just tell me you want red, gold, green with a star, because Senegal has red, gold, green with a star. Exactly. Guinea has red, gold, green with a star. So I could give you red, gold, green with a star. But be sure that you are asking specifically, and just be clear. Employers will need to have that at the back of their mind. When you recruit the right person and you give the person the right information as to what you want, look, you will sleep and sleep well, and the person will deliver. But when you keep hiding your strategy, you don't communicate properly to the person, and then the person delivers based on his understanding, and then you don't give proper feedback. You see, it works hand in hand, because when the person delivers and doesn't deliver well, you need to give feedback. And this kind of employers also don't know how to give feedback. Okay, so they start criticizing instead of giving feedback. There's a difference between criticism and giving feedback. So you criticize, and if the individual doesn't have that kind of emotional strength to take what you are saying, he gives up and walks away. All right. So it's very, very important to be sure of what you want, first of all, as an employer, and then make it clear to the one going to deliver it. Communication is key. Communication is the lifeblood of strategy from the top to the bottom.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you. And one other thing I want to follow up on your previous submission is the recognition, but more on the system for growth and development. It seems a lot of employers downplay these two a lot. Like my earlier question, they're paying salaries, and so that's it. what would you have to say? So that particularly with SMEs, number one, they will talk about costs, that there's costs involved in recognition and rewards. And so beyond salary, they think that's all they need to pay, and then they don't see why they should be committed into any growth and development initiatives, because they keep saying that after all, when they train, the people will still go anyways. But then the question is, train, they might go, and don't train, and they might stay. And so which one do you want? Quickly, what would you say about that? And before you go into that, part of the growth and development is the issue of absence of any potential for growth. There are a lot of organizations that have lateral hierarchy. How does that impact employee engagement?
Okay. Okay. So I'll take the issue of the training first. Then the last one you mentioned will maybe dovetail into succession planning.
Okay.
All right. So look, if you there's this saying that if you don't train, if you fear to train, because if you train they will leave, and you don't train and they stay, what happens to your organization? It won't grow. All right. So train, and let them go and train more. Right. Look, I worked with a foreign bank some time ago, and they train a lot. Just last week we were taking a survey of the banking world. I mean the banking space in Ghana, and there's no bank in Ghana currently as we speak on their C-suites who don't have any staff who had been in that bank before. And it's with pride. My current organization, almost half of the C-suite staff have passed through my previous employer. And it's a great thing. You need to train, you see, and when you keep training, it builds some capacity, and everybody you train who leaves talks good about your organization. So when we come to talk about employee value proposition in terms of measuring the best organizations in terms of employee value proposition, your organization comes up readily, because everybody is like, whoa, all these big guys are coming from this organization. So train. And I believe in the spiritual world of giving and receiving. So you train, you get the best later on, because the students or the new employees who need job or know that your organization is one of the best who train. So they all, dovetail towards you and want to work with you. So training is very, very key. Now, recognition and reward, at times it doesn't need to cost that much. You need to build capacity in your line managers, your leaders, to say thank you, know how to open their mouth and say thank you to their staff. When a staff does something right, just open your mouth and say thank you. Pat the person at the back. Let them feel you recognize them. That's the word, recognition. You recognize what they do. It needn't be money. It needn't be buying them a house. Of course, if you buy a house, that would be fine. But it needn't be that. But it's just a way of saying, oh, my boss recognized what I've done. You see, I talked about the emotional connection to your organization. Emotional connection. Look, let's take two people, two lovers. When you want to woo a woman or you want to attract a guy, you go all out and show everything that you think that individual wants to see to attract the person. Then your first date, you aim at making the person, you wow the person in such a way that when he goes home and he's sleeping, he thinks about you. He wants the day to come early for him to meet you again. That is what employee engagement does. So you need to do that to your staff and let them feel like, look, I need to go to work. I need to go and meet my boss again. I want to go and do some work for him. This is the kind of thing you need to build in your staff when it comes to employee recognition. of course, when they work hard, and it's about budgeting. Look, if you decide that you need to put some money aside for employee recognition, having a party, having awards night, taking the staff out on a cruise, whatever. If your budget for salaries is 20 cedis, why not put 5 cedis aside and give them 15 and use the 5 cedis to do all this? It's about budgeting and what you want to achieve. Okay, so but if you have that kind of mindset where it's salary, pay, you just give them all the money, I've paid you, yeah, they will also feel like, okay, you are paying me just for the work. But if you put something aside and you say, okay, I've paid you, they are happy with the pay, then one day you surprise them with lunch, you surprise them with individual allowance, something for meeting the quarterly target, for meeting the yearly target. Look, they will work for you and make you happy. And of course, you talked about succession plan. This is an area I keep telling organizations who want to hear that. Look, you need to build a very strong talent pipeline. Build a strong talent pipeline. And this talent pipeline, of course, it dovetails in succession planning. Review it periodically, probably quarterly. Have a way of using the right framework. I normally use the nine box talent management system, where it measures performance against potential. Okay, so you have the performance reviewed every quarter, probably, and then you also assess the potential of the staff. And so every day you know where each staff sits. So you're able to identify those who need help in terms of performance, those who need help in terms of their potential, making them recognize what their potentials are. And then you make the best out of the staff. Your job as an employer or as a line manager, as a leader, is to manage the people. So if you're not doing that well, and you are the best in terms of the operations of your organization, then you will probably have a problem. The line manager must do more in terms of managing the individual than the job. The line manager is supposed to recruit the best to do the job for him, but then the line manager, the employer, is supposed to manage the people very well. So that's why it's very good as line managers to go for courses on strategic management, on people management, etc., and let your staff go for the operational courses. You don't struggle with your staff to attend operational courses. You go for the people management ones and let your staff go for the operational ones. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much. If you're just joining, this is the 𝐀𝐝𝐦𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐻 HR Digest, and today we are talking about creating an engaged workplace. And our guest for today is Mr. Peter Yao Bosuchi. It's been an interesting conversation so far, so we're moving right on. So, how do you, with all this that you've submitted, I'm thinking of how the right balance can be achieved, because part of employee engagement is ensuring there's work-life balance, because the absence of it would create burnout, would create apathy along the line. Now, how can employers ensure they are achieving, it's not just a right balance, but a sustainable balance? The word here being sustainable, between performance expectations, maintaining a healthy morale, and then making sure there's cohesion between the two.
Okay, so in terms of balancing work-life balance and employee morale
And performance.
and performance, okay, you know, performance management is one thing, especially for us in this part of the world, we don't do very well. Okay, we don't do very well when it comes to performance management. So we have people coming to work, they go, as to whether they have delivered or not, nobody really cares. Okay. So to ensure that there's a balance between performance expectation and employee morale, we need to first of all set clear and achievable goals. Very, very important. Performance management is about setting objectives, setting goals, giving the right resources to the individual to deliver on. And there's a third one which we normally forget about, and that is answering the question of what is in it for the staff, what is in it for him. So you set the goal, you give the person the right resources, and then answer the question of what is in it for the individual. And you must make that clear to the person. Okay. So if you don't make the issue of what's in it for him clear, then we have a situation where when it's time to do a review, there's always the misunderstanding between the line manager and the individual, because then there's the question of, have you shifted the goalpost? This is not what we agreed. This is not what you said you give me if I deliver, and so on and so forth. So first of all, you need to set clear and achievable goals and give the person the resources he needs, and then be clear as to what's in it for the person. Then provide regular feedback and coaching. Okay, provide regular feedback and coaching. Now, if you don't give feedback and you only wait till performance review before you tell the person you have not delivered, then you are not being fair. Okay, so it's very important to give regular feedback. And see, I said feedback, it's different from criticism. Feedback is about well, that somebody told me before, attending several courses, and they said, look, feedback is a gift. It's a gift. And the way you wrap it, the way you parcel it, will make the person receive it or not. Okay. So it may be a good feedback, but if you don't parcel it well, the individual will not receive it. Okay. So you need to provide regular feedback and coaching. When the person, there's a gap, give the person coaching and let the person improve on his work. Of course, let me make this clear. The labor law allows for us to terminate appointments when the person is not delivering. But you need to prove to the Labor Commission that you have given the person all that the person needs to improve on his job. So you need to put in place a performance management system, which performance improvement plan, which involves a lot of coaching sessions. All right. So if your line managers don't know how to coach, give them the tools to know to be able to coach. Give your line managers the tools to be able to coach. So provide regular feedback and coaching. And we've talked about recognition and reward. You need to have a framework to recognize and reward employees, and then encourage work-life balance. Encourage work-life balance. Encourage work-life balance. And I underline it. Encourage work-life balance. Make sure your staff rests. Give them the opportunity to rest. Keep reminding them the need to rest. Because look, when they drop dead, when they fall sick, sickness is a cost, because they won't come to work and they will bring you hospital bills. Okay, so encourage them to rest, encourage them to take their leave, encourage them to take holidays. If you need to pay them to take holidays, pay them to take holidays. Right? So these are some of the things that I think we should look at if we want to balance our performance expectation and employee morale.
Okay, thank you so much. But fantastic submission. Now I'm thinking of how to translate it into the world of the MSME sector, where I don't think it's supposed to be like that, but that's what it seems to be like. That all these things that people in the MSME space will usually say that these kind of things is for the big corporates. They are small players in the economy, so these things don't apply to them. But you realize that the MSME space, they are a huge contributor to our GDP, and they are the biggest defaulter of these things. That's where you find a lot of disgruntled employees and all of that. So how do we simplify these things, make it look achievable and applicable and relevant to players in the MSME space?
All right, thank you. Look, like you said, many of the macro small enterprises, they recruit 5 people, 10 people, 20, but so the focus on people management, it's not there. They're always waiting to become big and become big corporates before they manage people. Look, I think what has been fortunate, I say fortunate for them, is the fact that the Ghanaian doesn't litigate a lot, okay? Because there's a lot of breach of the labor laws in these spaces, and any of these workers who go to the labor commission today or to the labor court today will win easily, and a lot of these SMEs will collapse if people start taking them on legally. Because look, even basic things like minimum 15 days leave, a lot of them are not
Hours of
applying.
work.
Okay, you see, so what has worked good for them is the fact that the employees either don't know their right or don't care. All right. So for me, the easiest group or entity to deliver on all we are discussing today is the micro enterprises, because you don't have a lot of staff, you don't have a lot of employees. So the cost of putting in place a training plan will not be that huge. But you see, when you do that and you have an effective work environment, these people will not want to leave you. They will want to stay with you and give off their best and become what somebody call it just escaped me, but the person will put in all his best. Instead of looking out, he will put in all his best and own your organization. Make sure that you become what you've not even thought about. Okay, so if you want to grow your MSCs and to become big, you need to put in place proper organizational structures, proper HR structures. And that is where I want to call on them. I hope some of them are listening to us, to engage HR professionals to develop your HR framework for you. You don't just say, well, I have money, I've started a job, I've recruited, so they are working. Let somebody review, audit your HR framework and put in place a proper framework for you. I've done that for a few companies. Today, almost all of them have become very, very huge. You know, most of those I started with had less than 10 staff. Today, I can boast of about 5 who have more than 30, getting to 40 staff, and with different branches all across the country, because they agreed to work within an HR framework. And of course, we looked at employee engagement. Delve towards that and let your staff put their emotions and their thoughts and their whole being into your organization, and you will certainly grow.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. This is the SIDAT HR Digest, and we are talking employee engagement today. I would like you to drop your questions in the chat box. I see a few of you are here. I see Usman Bedu, I see Gideon Tete, I see Iraba Manaf Tamibu. Pardon me if I'm if I'm not mentioning your name correct. You're all welcome to today's conversation. If you have any questions, if you have any contributions, please make sure you drop them in the comment section, and I will definitely read them out. Okay, so moving on. Excuse me. Moving on. I want to find out again on the issue of cost. Are there cost-effective yet impactful initiatives, particularly with the focus on these MSMEs who cry cost a lot? Are there cost-efficient strategies or initiatives that they can begin to consider or adopt to inject these changes bit by bit into their operations?
Okay, so I'll just quickly go through some of this that I've put down. I've talked about recognition and reward. So, like I said, you don't need to go and rent golden tulip moving pick for employee recognition and reward programs. You can have it at your workplace in the evening. You can have after work
Happy hour.
but happy hour, have a happy hour. Happy hour. All you need is some bottles of drinks and maybe about you
Popcorn.
just yeah. And then it's about interaction, eh? It's about interaction. When you look, you can have a meeting with your line managers and say, look, we're going to have a happy hour coming Friday. Just pick 2 or 3 of your staff who have been exceptional this week. We will surprise them with some 50 cedis, 100 cedis, Malcolm coupons. I mean, how much that cost? But you see, the thought
Right.
will make your employees go home happy. So they come happy hour, we drink, we chat, the MD comes around, dances around with everybody, chat with everybody. Then we say, surprise, everybody, this week we had this person. Or among themselves, just have a poll. Who is your best employee this week? Who has impacted you this week? Put the names out there and it becomes fun. Okay, so also have team building activities and social events. Okay, team building activities. As I said, if you don't want to have even a proper recognition and reward program, have team building activities. You could recognize, especially if you have departments or units and you realize that maybe one of the units don't really mix up with the others because of the way they work. Have a program where you bring all of them together. At the end of the day, on a weekend, take them out. When they come back on Monday, you will see some, intermingling. Okay. Then I talk about professional development opportunities. Pick a few of them who need those kind of trainings. Look for internships with other organizations and let them go and have a month or 2 working opportunities. Have flexible work arrangements. Check if people can work from home, give them the tools and let them work from home. Or if they will have to come in late, close early, those kind of flexible work arrangements can also be looked at. And of course, you must have employee wellness program. As I said, make sure your staff are taking good care of themselves. Encourage them to go to exercise. Encourage them to eat right, and then have a medical team come around once in a while to check on them. These are some initiatives I think if you take into consideration, will not cost too much, but will have a lot of impact.
Okay. All right. We are getting close to the top of the hour. 2 questions, and if after that we have time, then we can go into the others. So there's been a lot of okay, before I ask this question, let me ask this one. So with all this, what in your opinion, do you think are some common mistakes organizations commit with regards to this subject matter? that sort of puts them on the wrong side of it.
I've mentioned already lack of clear communication and transparency. Very, very important. You see, at times we are at the top and we think, oh, the employee don't need to know everything. But if they are the ones who are going to deliver on what you want, you need to communicate. Communicate what your objectives are and communicate what you want to see at the end of the day, and be clear and be transparent, and that helps. Because if the staff feels that you respect him and communicate properly, they'll give up their best. Okay. Then also provide provision of resources and budget. Insufficient resource and budget, it's also one of the mistakes we commit. If you want to have improved engagement, make sure you provide budget, provide the right resources. Okay. Then you have an initiative. You mentioned maybe an employer who starts a strategy. Tomorrow it comes, it changes. Tomorrow it comes. That's another mistake. Failure to follow through with initiatives. It hurts a lot, because when you have put the initiative together and you sell the idea to your staff and they start it with all the vim, and then you come midway and say, oh, no. I don't think that's how we want to go. Let's change it. If you do it once, that's okay. But if you do it and it becomes one too many, you may have your staff adjusting to that kind of life. And so they start it and always ready for you to stop it. So they don't give up their best because they know the initiative will not end. So failure to follow through initiatives is also one mistake. And then one big one is ignoring employee feedback and concerns. If you ignore their feedback, if you ignore their concerns, you'll be doing yourself. As we say it in Ghana, you'll be doing yourself. You need to listen. You need to listen to feedback. You need to listen to the concerns. And then if the concerns are not very, very relevant to what you think, explain it to them. Explain it. But if you ignore it, it will be at your own detriment.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Now, there's been a lot of talk about generational gap. Millennials, baby boomers, now Gen Zs are taking the hit. Do you think employee engagement strategies need to differ when it comes to the generational gap within organizations across the entire ecosystem?
Okay. As to whether it needs to differ, I will not respond yes or no. But what I will say is that you first of all need to recognize the generational gap in your organization. You need to have a database of who your Gen Zs are, who your millennials are, and who your baby boomers are. You will need to. If you don't have that database, if you have the database, but you don't even know who are the Gen Zs, you don't know who are the millennials, you don't know who are the baby boomers, then we already have an issue. Okay? Because if you need to study these generational differences and know who they are and how they take things. So, because for instance, if you take the Gen Zs, they may value flexibility, autonomy, and social responsibility. Gen Zs don't have time to sit for long and be, always being asked A, B, C, D. All they need is clarity. What do you want us to deliver? And they want to do it their own way. Okay? So you will need to know who your Gen Zs are and the kind of objective you are looking at. And then you ask yourself, do I need a Gen Z to champion this? Or I need a millennial who may value purpose, meaning, and opportunities for growth? Because the millennial, that's all he's thinking about, growth. So you have an objective. Is it the millennial or the Gen Z you want to put there? So you need to understand the thoughts of these generational differences. Or you want to look at the baby boomers who may value job security, loyalty, and recognition. These are guys who are almost getting to pension now. They want to stay on their job quietly, no giddy, no nothing to come and move them around. So you want to have an objective, or you want to have something to deliver on, and you need somebody who is stable, who will just be there and hold it to the end. You probably want to consider the baby boomers. But you see, as I said, you need to recognize all these people and then their capability. And your line managers must also understand who these are. Very, very important. And I want to add that your line managers are key to the deliverable of your employee engagement strategy. If your line managers are not getting it right, you will not get it right. So you will need to ask yourself, who are my line managers? What are the gaps in their people management capabilities? Build coaching capacity in them. Build mentorship capacity in them. They need to be mentors, okay? Because they will need to mentor people. They will need to understand the generational differences in their team. Because you sitting up there, especially as an HR practitioner, may not. You will have the data, but as to whether they are being fed, they are being cared for, it's the line manager who will do it. So it's up to you to work as a consultant, as an HR person. And if you're an HR person, you don't have that consulting capability, you need to work at it. You need to take courses in consultancy. Don't wait for your organization to take you for those kind of courses. You need to build it. It's a core deliverable as an HR person. Okay, so you need to work as a consultant and give capacity and capability to your line managers to be able to manage the people for you properly. Okay, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, so I have a few questions from our viewers. Gideon Tete, I'm sure you'd like this one. My organization grants a 12-day annual leave for staff. Is that legal?
12 days.
12-day annual leave.
No, so the law says minimum 15 days. So already your organization is breaching the law. So you need to go back to your employers nicely and tell them, sorry, you are doing the wrong thing, and I hope none of your staff go to the labor courts and get them doing the right thing. But I mean, this. Do you have HR? If you are, if you have HR,
that's where we have to start the answering from.
Yes.
Do you have?
If you have HR, speak to the HR. Tell the HR that you have just had a chat with an HR space, and that HR need to sit up. You need to do the right thing. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so the same person asked, in the case of staff, so I'm believing they're saying staff of private organizations, what are the processes in reporting staff grievances to the local labor organization, such as TUC, after unsuccessful resolution?
Yeah.
First of all, private organizations and TUC. Okay, well.
Yeah, okay. So I understand what the question is. So typically he's talking about reporting to the union. Now, I'm an HR person, I'm biased when it comes to union issues. I would prefer you talk to your employer. You talk to your employer, talk to your HR, and let them take it up. The union, if you have a union in the organization, the unions can take it up and have a chat with your bosses. But if you don't have a union, go back to your employer, talk to your HR and say, look, the law says minimum 15 days. If they refuse to understand that, you don't need to go to the union. You just walk to the Labor Commission, okay? They have a desk where you can just walk in. You don't need a lawyer. Just walk to the Labor Commission and then tell them that you have a grievance, and then they will tell you what to do. First, they will ask you whether you have reported it to your line manager, whether you have reported to your employer. You have told your employer that 12 days is breach of the law. That's the first question they will ask you. If you say yes, then they will note it down and then invite your employer to come. When your employer comes, they will ask the right questions. Then they will make a decision. For me, this one is a quick one. They will just tell them, go back and institute a minimum 15 days. If they still don't apply it, then the Labor Commission will formally go and take them out, and it can even lead to court, and then the CEO or whoever will be called before the law courts, and you can even be in prison. They can be in prison. So I would suggest that first talk to your HR if you have one, or whoever is acting as HR, because there are times you don't have HR, you probably have the head of administration or something, or head of finance who is. And you see, when I started, I said everybody think they can do HR, and that's the problem we have. See, so please, you speak to your HR and whoever is acting as HR, and they will sort it out. If you still have issues, talk to SEDAT, and I'm sure they will be able to advise you what to do next.
Absolutely. We are always there to help. So Stephanie Danso is asking, what strategies can help junior employees stay motivated and play a meaningful role in organizational success?
Okay, so look, junior employees, what I have a lot of mentees. So I have a WhatsApp platform of all my mentees, and I do regular meetup with them. What I tell them is, you need to be self-motivated for the start. You need to be self-motivated, because if you are waiting for somebody to motivate you, you will never get motivated. So you need to be self-motivated. You need to read a lot. You need to also ask yourself, what do you want to achieve as a young entry-level first 5 years worker? What do you want to achieve? What is your career objective? What is your career destination? Have you thought about what you want to be known for when you retire? Or when you retire, what kind of consultancy do you want to go into? I'm saying retire because a lot of us don't believe we can start something on our own. So we want to work for people. Okay. But what is it? What capacity are you building to give to the world? You see, what is it that you want to do and want to do for free and have some satisfaction? What is it that you have? Your current job, is it adding to that? Or you are just trying to accumulate some money and go do further courses in the area you want to develop in? So your first 5 years should be a year where, those years where it's not about money, it's not about looking for money, it's about navigating your career maze. Where do I want to be? What is it that I want to develop in my current job? What do I want to develop in? What do I want to be known for? Which area of my career do I want to be named as among the top 10? So that's what I would tell any young person who is building his career.
Okay. Right on time, right on the hour. It's been a wonderful conversation. As always, we never exhaust the questions. They just keep coming in. But I believe what we've had so far has been very, very useful, and it's been very practical, if you ask me. And I've totally enjoyed the conversation. I believe our guests also have. And as always, this is powered by SEDAT Consult. At SEDAT Consult, we give a host of HR services, advisory services. We do outsourcing, we do payroll outsourcing, compensation and benefit structuring, and a host of other services. And so if you'd want to make an inquiry into how you can come on board, I would want you to take note of this number: 059 140 5555. I'll take it again: 059 140 5555. You can also reach us on our various social media handles. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, IG at SEDAT Consult Limited, and then on TikTok at SEDAT Consult HR. For YouTube, our handle is SEDAT HR Digest. And so that brings us to the end of today's episode. Our guest has been Mr. Peter Yao Bosochi, and he has given us a wonderful session. And for those who may have joined it late, you can join the playback on YouTube and on LinkedIn and on Facebook as well. And so we would like to wish you all a wonderful week. And Mr. Bosochi, I am so thrilled. I'm happy we're able to have this conversation. Hopefully, maybe we'll get to do another one another time. But even for what we've had today, it has been a wealth of knowledge shared, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you. Thank you so much for your precious time, and I wish you a wonderful and fruitful week.
Thank you
Hopefully,
so much.
we'll get to come on here again, maybe for another conversation.
Yeah. And let me just add this last quote. That
Okay.
HR is not about policies. It is about people. HR is not about policies. It's about people. Let's have this at the back of our mind as we run the HR agenda.
Right. Gideon says they do have an HR actually.
Please speak to your HR.
Yeah.
Your HR needs help probably. Like I said, let him speak to him or her speak to say that.
Yeah.
It will help.
We'll give the necessary assistance. So thank you again, and a great week for everybody. Until next week, bye-bye.
Bye.